KindaSound Radio. We're tuning in for change.
Welcome to the KindaSound Astrology Show with me, Stella Grace. It's an honour and a privilege to be here today with you, sharing the astrology as part of the amazing KindaSound team. We have got some changes in the wings though, and it's really, really exciting. So I'm going to start by sharing a quick update, and then we'll go on to the astrology topic, Embodiment of Taurus season, which I'm really looking forward to sharing with you. This is the last astrology show on KindaSound. So there's some changes in the wings in the station, which are super exciting. We're going to be having a theme each month, and there's going to be shows from the various presenters on a different theme each month, and a young person led focus throughout the station as well. So that's really exciting, and there'll be more updates on that following. But my astrology show will be moving. It will still be available. I'll be bringing the weekly update and a topic to my YouTube channel, which is called Evolve with Grace Stella Grace. You can find me over there. So I'll still be bringing the astrology each week, but somewhere different now. I'll be on YouTube. And it's just a really exciting time of change. So I hope you'll also continue to support and follow KindaSound. They are doing such amazing work. It's so in alignment with the energies right now, and it's so what is needed. The ethos of spreading kindness, unity, being the change that we wish to see in the world, all of that and so much more. And of course, the focus on our next generation is just absolutely key for the times that we are in. So it's going to be a pleasure to see those changes unfolding. And you can catch up on all the shows at the same time the following day, and they'll be shortly after released on the KindaSound.org website for the podcasts as well. So you can catch up on everything there. Let's get into the astrology. Our topic today is just stunning, actually, embodiment of Taurus season. I'm really excited to share this with you because I'm actually a massive advocate for self-care and embodiment practices 365 days of the year. But Taurus season really heightens it. So we're going to get into a little bit of that before we go on to the update. Lots going on in the sky as per usual. Lots to cover in the update, and some really key themes linking in with our topic as well. So let's get into it. So why embodiment of Taurus season? So Taurus season is actually, in general astrological terms, Taurus season follows Aries. And in terms of the seasonal wheel of the year, we're hitting our first earth sign. And so it's the fixed earth sign of Taurus. Now, this period of, in terms of the natural organic cycle of the year, is now about cultivating and fertilizing those seeds that were initially started and initially kind of sown with the impetus of Aries season beginning. So the seeds physically and metaphysically that we planted in Aries season and with the new astrological year are now being really cultivated. They're being grounded in the earthy depths of Taurus. So it's a great time for really grounding in. It's a great time for looking at our body practices, because Taurus is about the earth, as we've just said, but it's also about the body. It rules the body. So it's an amazing time to be utilizing this embodiment period where we can be really kind of leaning into our self-care, nourishing our physical vessel, as well as taking stock of the physical earth and the material realm around us as well, because those are also some of the themes. So Taurus is a fixed earth sign. That means it's bringing stability, it brings groundedness, it can bring a little bit of stubbornness. It's quite fixed, it's rooted. But this is great for getting the job done, where we saw the beginnings and the new starts and the new energy and the new ideas of Aries season. Taurus enables us to ground it in and make it sustainable. So this is a really beautiful time to really cultivate inner and outer relationships, projects, anything that you've had in the wings or any ideas that you've been having, any projects that have been started up. Now's the time to really lay some foundations in those things. It's a great time to be really pressing forward with kind of maintaining and sustaining some of the things and the themes that have been going on lately. So, embodiment practices, what do you, or we'd love to hear, if you'd like to comment or send a message about what your favourite practices are for self-care. There's so many. I'll give you some of mine. For example, I've got my essential oils here. I've got a stunning blend that I love to use. That's a real great use of Taurus energy, of self-care. It's bringing in the earth. Something like using an essential oil brings in a bit of the earth that you can utilise throughout your day. When we use an oil, we're grounding. We're using Mother Earth's properties and natural properties to be able to kind of bring in a bit of stillness or bring in a bit of calm, or just because we like the smell of it. Again, Taurus is about the five senses. So it's about really accessing with what things we love to feel really connected in our bodies. It might be that you need a bit more rest. It might be that you want to access the earth, really getting your feet in the earth. And, we can do this in a number of ways. It doesn't have to be these long woodland walks that are for the entire day that can feel really unachievable. We've often got busy schedules. So it's about taking out 5 minutes sometimes to go and put our feet in the garden, in the earth in the garden. If that's all you've got, it can be a real game changer in terms of supporting and raising your frequency, which is what this is all about. We really want to kind of navigate the energies that are at play at the moment with a really solid framework of our body, a really grounded vessel. Now, that's a little bit about Taurus season generally, but just touching there on the energies that we're going through and kind of navigating at this time. Taurus season embodiment at this time in particular is more important than ever. So I don't know how you guys are riding the post full moon energies. We've just come out of a very deep dive full moon with Scorpio. And I don't know about you, but for me, it really brought up a lot of opportunity to be in my light. And what I mean by that is, my own shadows were coming up, doing some shadow work. Other people's shadows were coming up. Dark energy stuff, bits and pieces like that were coming up. And it's not always things I talk about because I don't want to, it's not to fear these things. I actually think it's really empowering to talk about these things, because what they serve to do is when any negativity or when any challenge is shown, it might not be always easy to deal with at the time, but what it does is it invites us to be in our light. And when we've got a really unshakable self-care practice, so when we're feeling solid in our own bodies and our own vessels, it's much easier to navigate difficulties. And actually, in being really solid in our bodies, it enables us to kind of either negativity can just bounce off us, or we're able to kind of almost automatically kind of transform it into lightness by shining our light on it. We don't fight, if you like, darkness with more darkness. We be in our light, which is about self-care and coming back to self initially. If we don't have self-care, everything is affected, and I'm sure you'll know that from your own practices. I know for me, if I don't do my self-care regularly, I'm not as nice a person to be around, quite frankly, and I really feel it. I don't feel like I'm thriving. So as much as we can have small or big practices, all of it's kind of important, and anything that you can manage. So I touched on essential oils being one. There's of course this is why I'm really passionate about the holistics, because they're an easy, quick way sometimes to raise our vibe and to support our mental, physical, emotional and spiritual well-being, and of course how that serves the collective as well. We're part of the collective energy. So we can have quick methods like a quick essential oil blend. We can have 5 minutes feet in the earth. We could have sea swimming. Or a walk on the beach if getting in the water is not your thing, or a walk in the woods. We can have all of these beautiful practices with nature. But it can also be, like I said, it might be that we need an afternoon nap. It might be that we need to go to bed earlier. It might be that we really need to kind of walk our talk on some of the things that we're supporting other people to do, because I think this is also a real time of, supporting each other. So it's really nourishing ourselves in the way that we would nourish our loved ones, really spending that time on answering our own body's needs as much as we would, our children, our loved ones. So I invite you to think now about your embodiment practices and how they, look for you. We've also got this theme and this focus with Taurus season, and that being on the material realm, as I said. So all of the things that are connected to the element of earth. So we've got lots of changes at the moment playing out on the world stage. We've got lots of energies that are shifting and changing and evolving. And so, again, it's really important that we look after ourselves in navigating what's happening out in the world. There's huge changes to the world's wealth system at the moment. This is absolutely phenomenal timing in terms of the energies. We've got a packed powerhouse of 5 planets and astrological points in Taurus this week. And part of one of Taurus's themes is wealth. And that is inner and outer wealth. So, as we're talking about self care, it's also about self value and self worth. We've also got the reflection of the external wealth being finance and external resources. And we've got huge changes happening in that arena with Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. I spoke about this last week, so there's a podcast on that on more detail if you'd like it around it's actually called Full Moon Release, but in that podcast I talk more about that crazy big Jupiter and Uranus conjunction, because the world stage is shifting. And it's really key timing for that, and also very linked to the shorter term astrology as well. So we've got conversations have been happening over the week about cryptocurrency. We've got the system playing out its changes as it continues to collapse and create the new earth that we've been talking about for many years. And it's all happening. It's really, really exciting times. So I hope you will also, think about your inner and outer wealth. These are really key Taurus themes around security. What things bring you inner security? What things are reflected in your outer world that can be supporting you in your inner world as well, and vice versa? Are your living arrangements, are you happy with them? And if not, if you can't move them, then how can you make them feel more in alignment with where how you're wanting to feel? Is there, just for example, is there soft furnishings that you could bring in at this time, or ranging in the whole spectrum on the other end of a physical house move? All these things are really good to think about in Taurus season, because again, we're looking at that stability, we're looking at our foundations, and we're looking at our security. So those are all really good Taurus season themes. As I mentioned, Taurus is ruled by the body. So everything physical is Taurian themes in the material sense, externally with finance and resources, but also the actual physical vessel. And if we think about that through the 5 senses, that's also a really good way to utilize our self-care practices through the 5 senses. Good, nourishing food, great scents. This is where the essential oils come in, things that you like to be around. I love the smell of the salty sea air, for example. That would be really nourishing to me. And again, nurturing how we feel, music that we might like to hear. Thinking about really cultivating that relationship with self, we're thinking about how we can really feed and support the body and the 5 senses of the body. So on that note, we're going to have a short break now with Iris and by the Goo Goo Dolls. And I think this really sums up the 5 senses. So thanks, Django, for playing that one for us now.
KindaSound Radio, the station for a global community.
Welcome back to the Astrology Show with me, Stella Grace. We've been covering Taurus season and the embodiment practices that are so aligned and so supportive for us throughout Taurus season and beyond. Actually, we can always utilise self-care and embodiment practices for really, feeling well on every level. It actually links really nicely to our theme that I was touching on before. We're starting some monthly themes on KindaSound, and the next one, starting on Wednesday, the 1st of May, is the theme of health. So it couldn't be more aligned for Taurus season. It's just perfect. We've got some amazing shows on the Wednesday, the 1st. We've got Giles Bryant with the Awakening Show and him covering his perpetual choir singing. And that's an amazing feat that he's doing at the moment with his album launch. We've got Lucy Davis there talking with someone who's bringing a young person's project to the fore. Lots and lots of exciting things on the topic of health coming up next week. And so, very fitting, back to Taurus season. Before we move on to the other astrology, I just wanted to mention as well that this is really key timing, thinking about embodiment as well, because we also have the year of the wood dragon. So 2024, the year of the wood dragon, and the wood dragon being very fitting in terms of embodiment. So what we're talking about with Taurus season is really bringing and grounding things into the physical and the material realm, which the wood dragon really supports. The wood dragon is about manifesting all our dreams and our desires and bringing them into a tangible physical reality, which this Taurus season really enables us to do. So again, all of those intentions, any wishes, any previous creations that you're really wanting to birth and unfold in the world, this is such an aligned time to do this. And of course, this energy is transferable to any time you choose. But with this awareness, we can get to really utilize it and use it for our highest potential. So it's an amazing time to bring our highest dreams, our highest wishes, all of our creations into the physical reality right now. So I invite you to think about what they are. We're also going to have a look at the chart, please, Django. Now we're going to have a look at the rest of the astrology for this week. And we've got that packed Taurus cluster that I've mentioned. So I'm going to just move my cursor. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah. So where I'm circling up on the top there is this cluster in Taurus. So we've got the sun, as we mentioned, that is the start of Taurus season. That moved into the sign on the 20th last week. And for the solar month ahead, we have Taurus, the sun in Taurus, which is all about, in terms of shining a light on the collective, it's really about our embodiment. As I was saying, it's about our grounding. It's about bringing in the stability and the security. Really, really important. What we've got, which is absolutely beautiful, that by the 29th, we will have Venus just next door there to the sun, coming into the sign of Taurus. Now, Venus is ruled by Taurus. So she's ruled by Libra and Taurus. And one of the facets that they share in terms of the essence of the planet and the sign is this real connection with beauty and wealth. And this again being inner and outer. So Venus coming into Taurus on the 29th gives us another opportunity to embody our self-care, embody a real deeper sense of self-worth, because Venus is about cultivating relationships that start with the self. So there has literally never been a better time to cultivate some amazing self-worth. If you've been feeling, some of the shadow works, we've still got a bit of shadow work just next door with Chiron and Mercury in Aries there, which I'm going to come on to in a moment. But if you've been doing some of the work, if you've been seeing some of the shadows, if you've been, noticing the things that are going on in the world and kind of, navigating that as the best you can, this is a really great time to really embody a deeper and wider sense of self-worth through self-care. Venus is also about harmony. And again, Taurus is very calming. So we've got this real collective energy of, there's a real nice harmony energy in the air, actually, with Taurus and Venus there. The sun and Venus there together in Taurus. So that's a really beautiful calming energy to utilize as well. We've got the MC. Now that's a zodiac point, not a planet, and that's our career line, really. So again, there's a good time to not only nurture ourselves, but this could feed into our professions. And I touched on this before, how we're supporting each other is really key. So again, lots of stable connections. We want to be being authentic in our truth, and that's how we find our people, by being authentic, by speaking our truth, by being who we've come here to be, not trying to sing off anyone else's song sheet. We're being solid again in our own self-worth and coming from that place, then we will find our people. Where that's how our vibe finds our tribe, and how all those lovely sayings work. When we are our light, when we're in our frequency, that has a ripple effect, and then our people can find us if they're not already in our circle. And this might be a really key time to support others, either professionally or in our personal lives, with that MC there on in Taurus. We've also got close by, and again, this is reflective of some of the seismic changes that are happening in the system, is that huge Jupiter and Uranus conjunction that I spoke about in last week's episode. So again, just to touch on, the changes in the wealth system, the changes in how we support each other are going to be really, really huge. And this is all for the push to being in a place of more unity, being in a place of more global connection, a global community, all of those themes that the astrology is aligned for. Now, I've recently posted about this on my social media, Stella Grace Holistics, that's named, by the way, at the moment. If you want to catch up on kind of like blog posts there, I post significant astrological aspects in a fairly lengthy post with a fair amount of detail. And I was just doing the Taurus and the Jupiter one at the beginning of this week. And this is, it might not be that we can see these changes overnight. We're not seeing the system looking like it's a place of unity and a place of connection by the end of this week. That's not what we're saying, but with the energy is moving in that way. The energy is aligned for that. There's no other kind of way forward at this time other than kind of connecting in unity. And this is, in terms of my belief, why some of the shadows are being shown, why the difficulties, might sometimes get a bit louder before they actually dissipate into a more equal system. We're in it, it's happening, it's exciting. We're a part of such a significant point in history where we are connecting. And as I say, the darkness and any shadows are only coming up more, and it's a good thing, it's an empowering thing, because they're coming up to be seen, to be transformed into more light and unity. So it's a really, really exciting time, and it's reflected in the astrology as well. So we are getting there, and this will also be supported by the kind of next 20 years in with Pluto in Aquarius too, which is really about bringing power back to the people. So really exciting times. So back to this week, I'm just moving the cursor down now. If you can see that conjunction there, which means the two planets have come together, they're starting to separate a little bit. So we've got Chiron there and Mercury, and I touched on this as well last episode. But what we might still have on our minds is some wounding. So this is where it's still been a really healing full moon. That doesn't always look like easy in the process. So we might have still had some wounding, some shadow work coming up, some old things to heal. And that energy is still kind of present. There's still a residue of that, although it is dissipating. Chiron, as I always say, is the wounded healer. So it's about taking the wisdom from those wounds, taking the growth and how they serve us to move forward with our highest purpose. And it's still an amazing energy to utilize that. So our thinking, really great time for changing limiting thought patterns, changing how we kind of speak to ourselves, any inner critic. We really want to be serving that with this nourishing self-love, going back to Venus and the Sun in Taurus and the embodiment practices. We really want to be nurturing and softening those, because Venus in Taurus is a really beautiful feminine energy to soften into. Whether we're male or female, we can really utilize that energy to really soften in with what we're needing. And then we've got some action in Pisces still. We've still got down here, if you can see, we've got Mars, Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. Now, that's some of the long haul game there with Saturn. He's around for another couple of years in Pisces. And again, that is another reflection of the seismic shift shifts to the structures that we are in, with a kind of dissolving there, a renewal of our faith system as a collective. And also, to me, Neptune there in Pisces is a lot about the collective. Pisces and Neptune themes are about the collective. So again, we've got this real awareness on unity and the collective at the moment, and some energy and activation in that, with Mars touching it, because Mars is the dynamic energy, kind of fire, really. So there's lots going on, both in the short and long term, but it's a really, really fascinating time to be alive, don't you think? It's just phenomenal. A little touch on relationships. I'm just going down now to Pluto. So Pluto this week is squaring that Venus that we were talking about in Taurus. So what that means is, again, never a better time to self-care, but also it can be bringing some power dynamics up in relationships. So why these things again will be shown is to bring you more into alignment with the power within yourself. So if there are areas that are out of alignment, if there are areas where there are aspects of control in relationships, or manipulation, or a misuse of power, that will be more heightened with the view to it being healed. So sometimes we really have to see these things with awareness. Sometimes they have to be brought up into the light, brought up into consciousness to be able to be shifted. And we might see some of that over this week in terms of our relationships. Of course, Venus inviting us to cultivate that relationship with self first, and really kind of rebalance our power, be coming from a place of our own positive authority, being really clear on our own autonomy, our own needs, our own what we're prepared to accept, our own discernment. All of those factors might also come up and be part of this embodiment theme that we're talking about today. You know, what we're prepared to put up with, where we are, you know, being respected, where we're in truth with what we're really wanting, and where we're moving to in that direction. You know, if we're moving out of alignment, or if we're moving, again, as I said earlier, in terms of someone else's expectations, that out of alignment, those out of alignment areas will be shown. So I think that's kind of a good overview of where we're at, and a great time to come on to, we've got two songs coming up next for you. They're both very linked to what we've been talking about in terms of raising our vibe, keeping our vibe high with our embodiment practices. And they were coming on to Shiny Happy People by REM, and then Connected by the Stereo MCs. And I just love these two songs because they just remind us to, even if it's not always easy, you know, staying in our own vibe, our own happy place, however that looks for us, or at least certainly coming back to it. And then, of course, connecting with others as well. I hope you'll stick around today, because after our songs, we've also got some incredible radio shows coming up. I'm absolutely privileged to be discussing men's mental health, the topic of that, with my guest next at 11 o'clock on the Gifts Within Adversity, so not long after this. And my guest, John Seymour, will be playing live. He'll be singing and playing, and we'll have the real treat of that, as well as a deep dive into men's mental health, such a key topic and such key timing to think about that and the energies around that as well. So I hope you'll join me for that. And then the lovely Laureen after that at 12, and she's interviewing me, and we're discussing a deep dive into my journey and how the tools and the learning from it has supported me to where I am today, and how it's kind of my goal and my passion really to support other people to evolve whilst we're in it together. We're all evolving together because we're in this together, aren't we? And it's certainly a fascinating time. So enjoy our last few songs, and I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the KindaSound shows and team today. There's also some fabulous shows this evening. There's a huge schedule, guys. Go and check out KindaSound.org. There's lots coming up, lots of exciting things, and we look forward to seeing you again next week as well, but on the YouTube channel Evolve with Grace, Stella Grace, for the astrology. Sending much love.